Thanks for tuning into this episode of Through Jeremiah's Eyes, and this is your host, Jeremiah Pouncey. I've been in Los Angeles, as I've told you in this past episode, at the brand new NFL offices that were built this past year. I was blessed with a wonderful opportunity to come out here through the NFL HBCU Experience Program, in which I'm able to get mentorship and shadowing experience from all aspects of the NFL, from the sales side, from the podcast and media side, being on live sets of shows and different podcasts, just a whole wide variety of different things that I've been able to get through this program. And today I'd like to introduce you guys to Erica Tamposi. She works for the NFL, and I just wanted to start this episode off by having our special guest introduce herself. So, Erica, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Sure. My name's Erica Tamposi. I'm a producer slash talent for NFL media, do a bunch of podcasts, and that's sort of my day to day, the podcast world.
Thank you for joining us. I was introduced to Erica through my mentor, Ben Gady, who was my mentor from the NFL HBCU Experience Program, and just told him about this podcast idea that I have that you guys are now listening to. And Erica was one of the integral parts into actually making this happen and getting everything into the order that it needed to be so that I could get this podcast up and running. So I just wanted to thank you just because I would not be here right now on this podcast if we did not meet through Ben. And Ben told me that you weren't only a creative mind and producer for some of the shows, but also a part of talent, as you said. So could you give a little look into what you mean by talent?
Yeah. So when you say talent, especially for NFL, we have, the people that are writing the shows and creatives and sort of put together rundowns and all this type of stuff. But then you also have the talent, the people that you'll see on NFL Network, the people that you'll hear on the TV shows. And I've been
Hmm.
very, very lucky to be able to do both. So, the show that I'm on with Colleen Wolfe called Split Ends, I pretty much write from top to bottom, with her help as well, but we're very, very involved. So yes, we have a producer, but it's pretty much our show from top to bottom, sort of like you, Jeremiah, because you wrote this, but now you're the talent, you're the host.
And how did you get to, like, how did all of that happen from producing shows to now being a producer and being part of the talent? Because I was able to join on set of Around the NFL, which was one of the podcasts that the NFL produces. And you weren't only behind the scenes, but you would also come in and speak at times as well. So is that kind of how you were introduced into being talent? And that's how you were, I guess, identified, or you were made known to the people? Or how did that come up, or how did that come
Yes,
about?
that's actually a good observation. I used to work in Hollywood, so I've been sort of moved my way up as a producer on some television shows. And then I got the job at the NFL. And when I was producing around the NFL, I would talk on the mic once in a while, and it became more and more to the point where I've
Mhm.
been there for like 4.5 years now, and I'm on every show. The NFL has given me some awesome opportunities to move forward and, take a show of my own. I also do a podcast with Anthony Jeselnik, who's a comedian outside of the NFL, which is super fun. And it's just sort of taken on a world of its own, which has been super cool.
That sounds dope.
Yeah,
And also just like I commend you on like that route. It seems crazy, but I guess it all led to here. Um,
right.
and also speaking of Hollywood, you have a nickname of Ricky Hollywood. So how did
That's
so like
true.
how did that come about?
That's true, that's true. So, I've told this story before, but I feel like it changes every time I tell it because it's tweaked a little bit. But when I
Yeah.
was younger, I was working in a restaurant, and there were some Brazilian chefs in the restaurant. And when they would put the food up for the waitresses to come take it, out of the kitchen and plate it up
Hmm.
and bring it to the tables, they would yell your name and say, "Food is up," like, "Food's up."
Hmm.
So they kept saying, "Erica, food is up," and they were telling me that it was really annoying not to, like, roll the R's, and it was just, like, my name was
Yeah.
hard for them to say. And then they told me, like, Ricka, they started calling me Ricky with a rolled R.
Hmm.
And my friends used to tease me like, "Oh, you're going to Hollywood, like, you think you're big shot?" And it just ended up sticking, and
Ricky Hollywood.
now I'll answer to it in public, which is embarrassing.
It sounds like a cool nickname, though. I hear everybody calling you it around the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny.
That's also a really cool story. That's also a really
Yeah.
cool story. I don't have any like special nicknames. People either call me Jeremiah or they call me Pouncy, which is my last name. And story
Okay.
about that is from back in elementary school. My fifth grade teacher was a Steelers fan, and they
Oh.
had a center, Marquise Pouncey, and she used to
Mhm.
watch Steelers all the time. So then my last name just kind of stuck.
That's
So everybody
awesome.
just started calling me Pouncey, and it stuck through high school, and then now in college, the same exact thing. I guess because it's shorter than Jeremiah, it makes
Yeah.
sense to be a nickname, but I don't really
The Pouncy
know.
podcast.
Yeah. Um, but also, just a little bit of a transition. Speaking about identity, I know that's something that is part of your identity, especially working in the NFL and that being a corporate America environment. Is that you are also a gay woman, which
Mhm.
is an art, which, oh, which I also read a short article about, which you can also find on NFL.com. And just through my interactions with you, for example, I'm just a random college student that emailed you one day, and then and then now you're helping me make this podcast, helping me make my dream come true. And just talking to the different people in the podcast studios or on the sets of different shows and hearing how highly they speak of you is just
Oh.
like it's just amazing to me. So, how have you navigated the space knowing that everybody may not be like as accepting of you just in the realm of being a gay woman?
Yeah, that's super tough, and when I wrote that article, I think it came out in 2020, yeah, about a year and a few months ago, and
Hmm.
it was really, really scary to put that out there. I mean, close friends and family knew, but for, like, the world to see and, NFL is such a big entity, people were sharing it. The
Yeah.
overwhelming response from fans, from coworkers, from like, family members, like, old teachers of mine were sharing the article and stuff, and it was so overwhelming and awesome. Like, I was on a different planet for, like, 4 days. I could not come down or stop shaking. Um, but luckily, we're in, 2021 at this point. So, outwardly, like, I haven't really come across anything too, you know, bad. Like, no, I mean, I'm sure there are people that disagree or think that it's, like, up to me how I feel and I shouldn't be putting it in their face and all this
Yeah.
type of stuff. So, I'm sure they think that, but, the same way that it's, if someone's an asshole at work, they're probably not gonna be around very long, you know what I mean? Everyone
Yeah.
has that respect, has that, so no one has been outwardly in my career yet. There's plenty of time.
Fingers crossed that it never happens.
Yes, of course. Of course.
And I like I admire that. Just how you're able to just like as you were saying how it's like your friends knew, your family knew, but actually taking that step and putting it out to the entire world, I know that had to be a like a really big step.
Terrifying. Ugh,
Yes,
horrible.
like I couldn't even imagine. And I just want to like commend you
Thank
on
you.
doing that. That's just amazing. Do you ever find it like challenging to gain someone's respect or fight that battle between altering who you are and to be accepted in this space or any space in general, whether it's your professional life, in your career, or personal life, just socially,
That's a great
or
question.
like
Hmm.
instead of being you authentically? Because I kind of, well, I know it's not the exact same thing, but being a black man in America, there's like I guess code switching, um, trying to basically conform and alter the way I speak, alter the way I try and like be me, like being a
Mhm.
different version of myself to a different crowd just to try and be
Well,
accepted.
how do you
So
handle that? I'll throw that to you first. How do you deal with that?
so I guess in through like elementary and middle school, I used to just like I used to try and I guess fit in. Like everybody used to call me like the like I'm black, but I'm the white black kid.
I
Just
hate
because of
that.
the way
So
that I
many
would like
people say that.
yeah,
That's so not okay, and, like, we let it be okay for so long.
yeah. And
Ugh.
it's wild. Like just like looking back on it and everything. And then in high school, I guess it kind of like, I guess my mindset kind of shifted just because I started understanding things differently. I started getting more confidence in who I am and learning about more so Black history, some history that wasn't taught in schools. I'm talking to my mom and my dad about what happens in school instead of just being like, "Oh, this is what I have to do." They don't really care. Um,
Yeah.
but I guess it was just a mentality that I like came to have of I'm me, and if you don't like me for me, then that's your problem, I guess.
Mhm.
Just because I know that or I don't want to hang around you if you can't accept me for me because I'm accepting you for you.
Right.
And then going to North Carolina A&T, which is the largest public HBCU, that just gave me even more confidence being surrounded by majority Black population of students that are trying to elevate and be those role models in the future, be able to progress through their careers, be able to make their dreams come true. I don't even know if that really answered the question. I kind of went
No, of
off on like
course
a
it did.
tangent,
No,
but it's
you
like,
said what you needed to say is that, "Hey, this is me, and if you're not cool with that, like, there's the door." And that's the same way that I am, and it's gotten to this point where I used to think that maybe I wouldn't I'm also a woman. So in sports,
mhm.
automatically people look at me like I don't know what I'm talking about, or I'm not
Yeah.
educated, or if someone asks, "Oh, you work for the NFL?" I'll be like, "Yeah." Then they'll, "Oh, name this random O-line player." And I'm like, "You
Yeah, which
name it.
is
You don't
also
know
insane.
either." Yeah, like, why do
Yeah,
you
like,
say
just trying to
that?
trip you up for no reason.
Right, like, what are you trying to prove something? So that's
Yeah,
one thing, but then I was like, "Okay, if I'm gay, are people gonna say like, 'Oh, of course you like football,' or
yeah,
that's why you're in that so I was very much, like, trying to walk the professional line of, is it gonna hurt my career or is it gonna help my career? And then I was like, "What are you
mhm,
talking about? Why are you living for, like, if it's gonna hurt or help your career?" And
yeah,
now this huge burden is off my shoulders that I was carrying around for a really long time.
and now you're just elevating, just keep on doing more and more cool things.
Yeah, it's been really cool.
Yeah, and even hearing about all this stuff, like, before we met in person, I was able to get actual in-person experience on the podcast sets and everything. Just hearing about what you do and then actually seeing all the stuff that you do is totally it's totally different. It's totally insane. Just
Yeah.
the amount of like work, effort. Your creative mind is also crazy.
Oh,
In
thank
like a
you.
good way. um,
No.
but not in a bad way.
No,
Um,
no, not at
but I don't
all.
know. It's inspiring, I guess you could say.
Oh,
And then all the
thank
like
you.
battles that you've come across and then being able to progress past those and then being like, yeah, this is me. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna carry myself this way, and then I'm gonna be the best in the realm that I want to be in. That's what I
Right.
need to be. That's what I want to be, and that's what I'm aspiring to be. So even though it's not the exact same, definitely draw inspiration from you and what you do.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. Well, you're everything that we have talked about, you have put into motion and you have what I think when we first met, I was like, just do it. Like literally just start doing it. Like don't
Yeah.
think too hard, just do it and then pivot as you go. I feel like I use that word pivot with you a lot.
Oh yeah, I wrote it on like one of the notes that I was taking during our meetings. I wrote it in like big font, and then I kept it, and I was like circling it because it came up like a few times. And then even when
Yeah,
we texted the other day, you said something about pivoting. So it's
you got to
just
be
I
able to
don't know.
roll, you know?
Yeah, like the adaptability.
Yes.
Kind of fumbled on
Yeah,
that, but yeah, staying adaptable if that even makes sense.
of course.
And then also, I remember reading an article a few months ago about Carl Nassib. I don't know how to
NASIB, I
specifically
think.
pronounce his name.
I think it's NASIB.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope we didn't mess that up. But he's the first openly gay NFL player, and he donated 100K to the Trevor Project. And not only that, the NFL also matched that donation. And just to give the audience like some background on the Trevor Project, it's the leading national organization that focuses on and advocates for awareness and crisis prevention for young LGBTQ plus kids. So just like seeing that, how does that make you feel seeing that the company that you work for is supporting this, like, I guess, movement or movement of acceptance,
Mm.
trying to fight back against like the social stigmas that come with somebody not just being, I guess, fitting the, what society would say, quote unquote, the normal person, even though I don't really know why that's a
What that
thing.
is. Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, you
um,
think of the NFL, you think of fans, you think of, people drinking beers on Sunday and watching their favorite
yeah.
team, like the clientele or the people that consume the NFL. There were a lot of people that were really upset that people were kneeling for the anthem. They,
Hmm.
said that it was, disrespectful to the flag. They're all for, equality, but when you kneel, so then when
Yeah.
we paint end racism in the end zone, they don't like that either. And it's like, okay, I
Yeah, then
thought
there's
this was
another
about the
problem.
flag. I thought this was
Yeah.
about the flag. So let's chat after this, whatever. But yeah, to imagine that even now, like, if you had asked me this question 3 years ago, if I'd been like, "Is the NFL, like, a inclusive place to work?" I
Hmm.
would probably tell you no. I'd be like, the fans are very set in their ways. The league, the NFL, I hate to use this word, is like a boys' club. And so for all
Yeah.
of a sudden, if they're going to be opening their arms to a gay player, and there are plenty more that haven't come out, it's just a
Hmm.
numbers game. There's just no way that's possible.
Yeah.
And there's been past players that have come out and all this type of stuff. So to see the league endorse this and say, like, "You belong here, you belong on this field," is, like, so amazing.
Yeah. And I also see it as like, for example, how we see the players doing this type of thing, but then we also see you doing this on another end of what the NFL does in the media side of everything. So it's like the same way, or at least from my perspective, it's like the same way that players are able to come out now, um, and be their authentic and genuine self and share that with the world and not be hiding that. I feel like in the same way you are being that in like the media, podcast, talent, producer, all that different type of stuff that you do, which is a whole bunch.
Yeah,
But
there's
you're
a lot.
being but you're becoming like a role model
Oh,
for these
I
young
don't
kids and
know.
just people in general. How do you think that you're not? That was a
I
voice
don't
crack.
know.
But I feel like there's no way that you're not. If you're on shows, if you're doing all this different amazing things, you have an article about you on NFL.com. And as you're saying, there's a whole bunch of social media, like everything about it. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
inspiring to me. So I know that it has to be inspiring to a whole bunch of other people, all the audiences that you have across your various platforms. Um, I don't know.
that's
I don't
awesome.
know where I was. I
It's
don't know
good
where I
to
was going with
hear.
that.
No, it's good to
Yeah, I was
it's
like,
like a nice reminder, which actually I got a DM couple of like a month or so ago saying that they're like, "Hey, I don't think you'll read this, but if you do, just wanted to let you know that I was so inspired by your article last year that I decided to say, screw it." And I asked out this guy at work. It was a guy. And
yeah.
he's like, and I asked out this guy at work, and I just want to let you know that that was a year ago, and we just got engaged this past weekend, and it's because of your
See?
article. And I was, like, blown away that that I'd had that impact on someone. Like, it was mind-blowing.
Yeah. See, it's like you're a role model, even if you, whether you want to recognize it, which you definitely should, because it's
Yeah,
like that's another thing, just like in general, like being able to like take a step back and then realize the impact that you're actually having is
right.
like, I guess it's hard. It's even hard for me to do. Like I can see all this amazing stuff that you're doing and everything. But then I even catch myself sometimes not thinking that I'm doing enough or that what I've done isn't having an impact.
Of course it
But
is, though.
just like just like having conversations like this, like having the reminder, like that DM that you got, that's crazy. I want to get to a
Yeah,
point where that's something that I want to be able to have. Like be able to have DMs from people saying, "Oh, this impacted me in this way. Oh, this motivated me to do this." Like that's amazing. Like a opportunity that I had a couple months ago. I was speaking to some kids that were in a nonprofit looking to get minorities involved in veterinary medicine,
Oh,
and
cool.
I was like presenting my story, what I do, like advice, motivation, like that type of thing. And then one of the students said that like what I was doing was cool and that it was inspiring and they want to do some stuff that I'm doing. And it's like those are the moments, those are like the things that make what I'm doing right now feel like it's worth it. But I never would have been able to take that step back, I guess, and recognize that if
Mm.
I wasn't told that. So
Yeah.
I don't really know where I was going with that, but I would
No, I
say,
mean, it's life is all about finding these moments. Like you just said, it was that moment in time, and it's creating moments that get you to where you are, and try to make the best of all these moments too, because there's bad times, but there's so many good times too. And like you said, just taking that
yeah,
step back is really important.
I agree 100%. It's something that I'm trying to work on. It's also, I don't know, another thing I'm trying to do is like being able to tell people or like going out of my way to make sure I let people know the impact that they're having on me. Just because, as you were saying, that simple DM when they didn't even know that you were gonna be able to read it or that you were gonna
Right.
see it, but just the simple fact that they actually took those like that those few minutes to actually send that DM that you were actually able to see and how it's had an impact on you today. How that
Right.
kid actually came off a mute on the Zoom and then said that and then the impact that it's had on me today. Even though those are months ago, but we
Yeah,
still remember those moments.
that's amazing. That's good.
Well, that's all I have for today. Still want to wrap up with the tradition that I do at the end of every podcast episode. So I have two questions. The first being three things that you live by or your keys to life. What would you
Mm.
say those are?
Well, they've changed over the years, but one there's 3 constants. So I think one is you never go to bed without saying I love you to either family members, or basically you don't go to bed angry. Like I try not to, if
Mhm.
I'm fighting with someone or I'm upset or whatever, you never want to go to bed without saying I love you in whatever
Yeah.
aspect that is. Um Second, I think you should always do twice as much for someone else that you would yourself. And I think there's a lot of emphasis right now on self-care, and I totally live by that. And I think that you need to take care of yourself and don't become a doormat. But also, I think it's better for me to do more for others than it is for myself. Not putting
Yeah, I
myself in a
completely
situation
agree.
where I'm, hurting myself or taken advantage of or anything like that, but in a normal relationship, do more for them than you would yourself. And the third
For sure.
rule is never buy cheap toilet paper. You gotta spend the money. You gotta spend the money,
Yes, that's a form of self care. That is
right? You
that
got
is a
to.
perfect form of self care. Um, and then the final question, if you could have a conversation with a 12-year-old you, so
Ooh.
like just getting out of middle school, going into high school, what would the conversation be about, or what advice would you give and why?
See, it's so hard because then you get into the whole butterfly effect. Like if I said something to myself, would I be in a
Yeah. So then, would
different,
you have done this?
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
would I be here now? I would say get some lunch money from dad and invest in Bitcoin, because
Oh
then
yes,
I'd be super rich.
you'd be rich.
Yeah, like rich, rich.
Yeah.
So that would probably be that. But then maybe I wouldn't be doing this. Like maybe I'd be rich, but like kind of miserable.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a good question. I would say that, like, I used to think that this is what I'm going to do, and this step leads to this step, and this step leads to this step. And Jeremiah, you know what I'm going to say is be able to pivot.
To pivot. Yep.
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like there isn't one direct path, and anybody I talk to, even at NFL media, like, how did you get here? It was
Mhm.
not the direction you'd think. It was, oh, I was working over here and then this happened and then I really had a passion for this, but I took a job somewhere else and blah blah blah. Like
Yeah.
there is not one specific path. And so instead of focusing so much on, oh my God, I didn't get this or I'm not doing this, and it's hard for me even now. Like I have my sights set on stuff
Mhm.
that might not work out. And it's very easy to be like, well, throw your hands up and be really upset. But, like,
Yeah.
give yourself that time to be upset, take a step back, and just be like, "Okay, now what?"
Yep. And then be able to pivot and then
Yep,
put all that effort that you would in the what you wanted to do into now the next opportunity that you can get.
exactly.
I love it. I love it. But thank you so much for joining me, like genuinely. And thank you for like getting me to LA and then also just like all the experiences and everything that you've helped me out with while I've been here. Because I spent pretty much the majority of my time in the podcast area, in the studios, on the sets of shows, all that different type of thing. It really has been like very, very amazing experience. And I'm also looking
Good.
to the forward to the future as well. Hopefully, I'll be able to get back out here. I don't know when, but definitely want to because even though it was like a week that I'm out here, I still want to make it longer. So somehow got to get back out here. And anything you would like to promote, like shameless plugs, things you have going on that you want to say, last
Yeah.
words you'd like to leave the audience with.
Yep, split ends on Tuesday for NFL and iHeartMedia, check it out.
Great, great. An amazing podcast. Definitely
Yeah,
taking some notes from what you do over there and applying that to this.
well, thanks for having me, it was
um,
so much fun.
Thank you for joining me. Be on the lookout for more episodes and also stay tuned for all the special guests that I'll have on in the future. I'll continue to have amazing conversations with the incredibly dope people that I've met through my many adventures. Also, follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Through Jeremiah's Eyes for updates and more content. It would be amazing if you could also like, share, and subscribe to my podcast so you don't miss an episode and we can grow this community. Thank you so much for your time, Erica, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode for another look through my eyes. See you soon.